In this video, we are going to disassemble this Ross steering gear. So the Allis Chalmers B model tractors come with two different steering gears. The later models will have the Ross. Here's our steering gear, set up on the table. Got a pitman arm, got a fill plug on this side for filling with oil. There's a clamp screw to clamp on the steering tube. On the back side here, there's a cover plate, adjuster screw, and a bunch of crud. I don't know if I'm going to end up using this one. Maybe some parts off of it. The one off the parts tractor is in pretty good shape, but this has a lot of slack in it. You can see here it's a pretty good bit. Also, this tube is bent and crushed in a couple spots. We rolled the tractor over into a ditch, and in the process of flipping it back over, I remember we bent that a little bit, and I broke the shaft. I went to take off the nut that holds on the steering wheel. Threads and all broke off with it, which in itself doesn't really stop me from using it, but the other one's in great shape, so I'll go with it. The way to get around this is to drill a hole in this shaft further down and get a long bolt with threads sticking out of it, and cut the head off and slide it down into the shaft. And then you could tack weld that in place or pin it or whatever. There's a million ways you could do it. That's one way. Or we could weld a piece of metal in here and rethread it. But we won't need to use this one anyway, so it'll just be spare parts. Alright, first thing I want to do is remove the pitman arm. Okay, so this nut's 1 1/8 inches. Normally when you remove these, be sure you caulk it right, putting it back on. Just mark this shaft and this pitman arm before you take it apart so you can line it back up right when you're putting it back together. But in this case, I don't care. I'm going to take it apart and I will mark where the center section is later on. Okay, so I broke my pitman arm puller the other day. Well, I say the other day, more like the other year. So I'm going to attempt it with this one. This isn't the right puller for this. I'm worried about this cup damaging the threads. There's a depression in there. And there's a center drilled right here. So I'm going to stick this ball bearing in between here. And that'll keep it off the threads and keep it centered. And probably give me a good almost bearing surface to tighten this down on. The outer piece is actually off a different puller setup. There we go, that came off pretty good. Okay, pitman arm's off. The only real wear item on a pitman arm would be this joint here at the bottom. That didn't look too bad. Okay, next step, I want to take this tube off. So I'm going to remove this clamp bolt, which looks like it might actually break. We'll see how that goes. There, rounded that one off. Break out the old trusty vice grips. easy, or is it a pain? That is the question. There is a bushing in here for the steering shaft. It can wear out. I'm not sure what kind of material it's made out of. Almost feels like a cork or something, but I'm sure it's not cork. I'm pretty sure it's not cork anyway. Okay, something to note about this. I don't think there's a seal in here on the top half of this. At least there was not in the other one. What that means is if you leave your tractor out in the rain too much, and rain gets between the steering wheel and this edge of the column, water can actually run down this rod. And technically it should drain out of that hole because that's on the bottom, but you see how it's plugged up, so it could go into the gearbox. Another thing to note, and I'll show you this on this other shaft I already have out, the hole in the end here, the shaft is hollow all the way through. So if the nut that goes over this shaft is, if you put a regular nut on there instead of the acorn style nut that covers it, or the top of it pops off or rusts through, you get rainwater in here, it goes right into the gearbox. So I think my next step here, I'm going to take off this housing. The bearings actually feel pretty good in this one. And moving in and out, there's not much play there. This bearing preload is actually adjusted with this. There is spacers, shims, or actually shims in between this plate and the housing. Tractor I took apart, the parts tractor actually. The parts tractor was these bearings weren't in great shape, and all this was dry and dusty with rust, and the bearings were rusted. This one looks like it's got some oil and grease in it, so that might be good. Might be better off using bearings out of this one. Alright, so look at this. There's a couple shims there, there's 4 or 5. So I was getting ready to remove this snap ring, then realized this bearing just slides out and stays attached to the shaft. So for now it could stay that way. Could almost unscrew this, but I think the bearing that's in the bottom is catching on the sector shaft. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this cover off the back. Boy, this is a greasy, nasty mess. Look at that. But at least it's not rusting water. So the sector shaft should push out. I'm going to push it from the back here. Man, I don't even know where to grab this thing. More paper towels to the rescue. Oh wow. This one is wore slap out. Man, no wonder there's so much slack in that steering. Grab this good one and show you what it's supposed to look like. Although this one's worn a little bit too, but not as bad as that one. So this one, get a little bit of wear on this side. Pretty good amount of wear on that side, but it might be usable. I might try to build that up with welds and remachine it. I don't know, but it is definitely better than this one. Our tractor was really close to losing steering. Okay, with that out, can we get this out? Yes. So the bearings were so bad in the other one, I couldn't get them out that way. I had to take the bearing apart while it was in there to get it to slide out. Alright, so this part, got a couple little chip there, it looks like. That looks kind of old. One bearing. There's the other one. They feel like they're in great shape. So we'll just pop off this one bearing. They both pop off the same, but we'll remove this one here just to see what it looks like inside. Man, this place is becoming a mess right here. Look at that. You know what? Looks like I can get this one with a little flat head. I'm right-handed. I need it over on this side. That makes it a little harder to film. Yeah, I saw where it went. Okay. Yeah, so here's the trick. You got a bearing race. Separate balls. And the shaft itself looks like it has the other race made into it. So we got a race here, all bearings in between, and the snap ring. Now on the parts tractor, top one was pretty crusty. I never did inspect that surface to see how good it is. Hopefully it's in good shape, because I'd rather not have to repair the threads on the end of this one. Actually, this is pretty ate up too because of the way that other sector shaft is, so this one's kind of done. Alright, one other thing to look at. Oh, seriously, this is the messiest one. Okay, so these two bearings come out. We've talked about those, so those are fine. The only thing in the housing that would cause an issue, other than obvious cracks, would be there's two bushings inside of here. And there is a seal under here. Yeah, it's just a chunk of rubber on the inside. So you got a seal there. Not sure if this bushing just show up or not. Yeah, you can kind of see one. It's got two. It has one on this end and one on the inside. And they're about 1 inch long. Look, easiest way to see if they're any good. Put your arm in it, see if there's any slack. Or shaft in it, I should say. Alright, so that's how you disassemble them. Once you get one cleaned up and painted up and ready to put together, we'll do an assembly video and get this put together and adjusted and all the bearing preload set. Quick sneak peek here, what's coming eventually. Pretty soon we'll have a video of assembling this hydraulic pump that I took apart a couple videos ago maybe. So it's all ready to go together. Only thing I'm waiting on is the seal, and it should be here any day. And another thing, a corrupt SD card means there is no video of this. So I got some pictures along the way. I might make a little video with pictures talking about the steps, but anyway, we got a carb ready to go. I guess that's the first 100% complete item. All right, stay tuned for more.